did it come to this? I couldn't save her.
I didn't know I could feel so lost.
I will fight when they tell me to.
War is not about who's right. It's about who remains. Why did I come here?
I don't want him to leave.
It is a painful but necessary sacrifice.
This war is turning innocent people into murderers.
War is the mirror in which I saw my ugliest face.
What will happen to our future generation?
Is this the freedom we dreamed of?
I'm scared. But I'm doing this for my nation.
How can they send 14-year-olds off to die like this?
Breaking news alert. Ashiana has claimed responsibility for the attack inside Panjara's border. Both leaders will be addressing their nations momentarily.
My friends, citizens, neighbors, I will be brief. We, the people of Ashiana, come to end strife, not to praise it. The evil that men do lives after them. Their good is often buried, lying in their ambition. So let it be and let it lie, fractured in pieces, as we build peace.
We are fractured, fractured in pieces. We are fractured, fractured in pieces. We are fractured, fractured in pieces.
Our noble fractured state, Ashiana, has said we were ambitious.
Fractured in pieces. We are fractured, fractured in
We
pieces.
put arms to rest and let the rest be silent. On this day of silence, if this is true, it is a grievous fault of Panjara. But have no doubt, our people have paid for this fault. We must ask our neighbor state, led by honorable men, how should we show them the honor they teach? What is the fault of our ambition? To grow our land is a show of ambition. Should we change our ambitions? Ambition! That complaint came from their leader. A complaint that such ambition does not show honor. Oh, how should we show honor to honest Ashiana?
Our noble neighbor, the state of Panjara, honors our land by respecting our borders. Do not perceive their presence as a showing of strength, for today marks the end of strife. On this day of silence, they line our borders only as a show of honor. Let us meet them at this line where Panjara and Ashiana meet. Peace be upon they who sit in our borders, to those who honor their precious, dear homeland.
Peace be upon their people, their army, security forces who curiously sit at our borders. Ashiana will say their goal is not might, but the vindication of right. They say peace is the honor they give. Peace through the vindication of right?
Serenity be the guide for all whose sole ambition is only peace. Only have we struck when peace was a target of Panjara's ambition.
Ambition is the charge they have made. Ambition at the expense of their peace. Yet, how to have peace when the dead does cry? When the dead have cried, your leaders have wept. Ambition should be made of sterner stuff. Yet, Ashiana says we were ambitious, and Ashiana is filled with honor. I speak not to disprove of what our neighbor has spoke, but here I am to speak what I do know. Should we place the love of our neighbor above the love of our own? Should we place the ambition for peace above the needs of our poor? Is this truly ambition, or is this charge lie? Yet, Ashiana says we were ambitious, and Ashiana is filled with honor.
It is they who have chosen this path. The path they offer is full of hazards, as all paths are, but consistent with our character and courage as a nation. We stand ready to honor true peace. The cost of freedom is always high, but we have always paid it. Our goal is not war, but the vindication of right. We shall meet their ambition with our right.
Recruits, report to CO at 0400. New recruits, report for training.
बजेगी और माथे बिंदी पैरा में दिलाली सजेगी और ताली मार दो हथी वीरा ताली बजेगी माथे बिंदी पैरा में दिलाली सजेगी हुड़वा पे शीशा देखे हैं हुड़वा पे यहाँ पे शीशा देखे बोले सोहनी लगेगी ताली मार दो हथी वीरा ताली बचेगी अरे माथे बिंदी पैरा में दिलाली सजेगी शीशा देखे बोले सोहनी लगेगी ताली मार दो हथी वीरा अरे ताली बचेगी
Wheels up at 1800 hours. Wheels up at 1800 hours.
Another summer day is coming our way.
Dear Mom and Dad, I'm imagining that as you're reading this, Mom is slowly sipping her fragrant ginger chai, and Dad is having a one-sided debate with a newspaper headline. I hope you'll be happy to see this letter. It's something we've all wished for. More chances to write home. Today is my second day in the ranks of the 104th Division. After living in the mud and eating C and K rations for 2 months, my present situation is hard to believe. I'm now eating good food and sleeping in a warm, dry room. Well, a kitchen to be exact, with 4 other soldiers. That might seem crowded, but it's nothing compared to the times when I've stayed in barracks half the size, with 3 times the number of women. I miss you both dearly, but please don't worry too much about me. Although I was scared and alone when I first arrived, I feel more sure of myself now. My fellow soldiers are more than just a part of a unit. They are my sisters and brothers. They are my lifelong companions. I know they will always have my back, and I have theirs. Love always, your daughter.
In your eyes, there's a heavy blue. Want to love and want to lose. Sweet delight, a heavy truth. Waterline, don't make me true. The stars in the sky. I've been running through the jungle. I've been running with the wolves to get to you, to get to you. I've been down the darkest alleys of the dark side of the moon to get to you, to get to you. I'm good for love and then the stranger took too much and easy anger all for you, yeah, all for you. I've been running through the jungle. I've been crying with the wolves to get to you. To you, I've been down the darkest alleys of the dark side of the moon to get to you, to get to you. I'm afraid of the stranger took too much easy anger all for you, yeah, all for you. I've been running through the jungle, I've been crying with the wolves to get to you, to get to you, to get to you.
God's on strike with us. It's a fearful odds. God be with you, soldiers all. I'll to my charge.
If we no more meet till we meet in heaven, know that you are brave of the firm truth of valor.
I do not care if men do wear fatigues. Such outward things dwell not in my desires. But if it be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive.
Let he who has no stomach to fight, let him depart. We will not die in that man's company, that fears his fellowship, to die with us.
He that outlives this day and comes safe home will rouse at the name of honor.
He that outlives this day and sees old age shall strip his sleeve, and he will show his sword. And you say, Remembrance Day!
Old men forget, yet we may all be forgotten, but we'll remember with advantages
Alarm. Ashiana and Panjera's ground forces clashed in the disputed border region near their southern provinces. Medics near the site are reporting casualties numbering in the thousands.
We fled when we heard the sirens, but we were separated. And they were taking hostages, kidnapping everyone. Neighbors, friends, even children. The home my family lived in for 5 generations is in ashes. Where do I go now?
Time and again, we will meet Banjara's strength with our might. We will fight their ambition with our right. Know that the blood our citizens have spilled is not in vain. From it will spring a greater tomorrow that will bring us peace.
People doubted that she could lead the nation, but she's proven herself to be a strong leader.
Look, is war a show of strength? Why not seek a diplomatic solution and avoid massive fatalities?
Ashiana is a repressive dictatorship. Panjara was left with no choice except war.
Know your sacrifice was made with the firm truth of valor. We will not allow the enemy to claim victory. For this was but one battle in the war to reclaim truth, justice, and peace. As your leader, I will fight to protect our nation and our way of life.
We lack sufficient space or supplies to be able to treat all the wounded, and yet we do not know how many troops are in need. We may not be able to reach soldiers in time before they die.
चिट्टी जावे जावे संदेशा सजन गया किस देश टूटे दिल की जग भी नहीं सुनता ना ही सुने दरवेश
नैनों की मत मानियो रे
I know not whether to depart in silence or bitterly to speak for what we have lost. Today, in small towns across our nation, on cemeteries, throughout this country, on these solemn and quiet hillsides, these families of the fallen share stories of the lives they led. Our hearts ache in their absence, but our hearts are full in knowing that our legacy shines brightest in the ones they loved the most. Through an almost unimaginable loss, these families of the fallen have tapped a courage, a resolve that most of us will never know. And we draw comfort and strength from their example. I know that your sacrifice is their sacrifice too. So when I think of all that you do and all that your families do, I am so proud and so grateful. But more importantly, I'm inspired. I never feel like I can fully convey just how thankful I am. Words just don't seem to be enough. Words are not enough, for they are only words.
Action is what we bring to this world. And action brings honor and peace. Remember our goal. It was not the victory of might, but the vindication of right. Not peace at the expense of freedom, but both peace and freedom. For freedom is not free. Here in this hemisphere, nor around the world. Is this the freedom we dreamed of?
And now, the future belongs to those who can dream. Dream of a future that we can build together. A future of breathtaking progress. A future of security, prosperity, and peace. Peace for those whose blood has grown into chrysanthemum in the spring.
Now watch the stars fall into a firewall, and I am waiting here, waiting for you to come home. Sinking embers low, melting icy snow, and I am waiting here, waiting for you to come home. And I watch them burn. When will I ever learn? If I wait you to come home.
बेजान दिल को बेजान दिल को बेजान दिल को तेरे इश्क ने जिंदा किया फिर तेरे इश्क ने ही इस दिल को तबाह किया
have blindly placed their faith in us.
It would be a shame if their own leader betrayed them.
The cost of freedom is always high, but we have always paid it.
मेरी रूह का परिंदा फड़फड़ाए
Our goal is not war, but the vindication of right.
लेकिन सुकून का जजीरा मिल न पाए
We shall meet their ambition with our right.
Or fracture peace and tear humanity.
वे की करा
दिन से आशना से दो अजनबी हुए हैं तन्हाइयों के लम्हे सब मुल्तवी हुए हैं क्यों आज मैं मोहब्बत फिर एक बार करना चाहूँ ये दिल तो ढूंढता है कर के बहाने लेकिन ये जिस्म कोई बात यार माने क्योंकि तुझे खुदावन तुझसे ही यार करना चाहूँ मुझ में अकल है बाकी आसमाने देख नहीं हूँ खुद को मैं तेरे हवाले तेरा छुड़ा मेरा छुड़ा रांझण दे यार बुलिया सुन ले पुकार बुलिया तू ही तो यार बुलिया मुर्शिद मेरा तेरा मुकाम कब ले सरहद के पार बुलिया परवरदिगार बुलिया हाफिज मेरा मुर्शिद मेरा रांझण दे यार बुलिया सुन ले पुकार बुलिया तू ही तो यार बुलिया मुर्शिद मेरा तेरा मुकाम कब ले सरहद के पार बुलिया परवरदिगार बुलिया हाफिज तेरा मुर्शिद मेरा
Certainly there's some very powerful moments in this particular production. And I might be able to answer that in my head all in and of itself, but would love to hear from Nikhil just for your words or someone else about how how this particular show resonates with the theme where the art world and the real world intersect.
Absolutely. Okay, I'll give it a start. So if you couldn't tell, the show was about war and conflict. I think that probably came through. But the question that we hope you're wondering is, was this about a specific war or conflict? And I hope you each have a different one in mind, because that was the idea, that it is about all conflicts across time, whether it's neighboring countries, whether it's a civil war, whether it's a war between two nations on opposite sides of the globe. So that's how, so it is a very real theme. We're talking in here about a fractured society. They're the same people on both sides of the border, the same culture, they're wearing the same clothes, they're doing the same dances, they're singing the same songs. But because of politics, they are fighting each other.
Wonderful. Sort of another question that I'd love to ask is, even with such a deep message, this work doesn't happen just overnight. And from a creative process perspective, my goodness, there's theater, there's dance, there's music, it's all of the above. And how did you start putting this all together?
Hi. So my idea for this piece actually came from Instagram. I saw.
Hashtag Sup and Arts.
So I saw a beautiful classical Bharatanatyam piece on Instagram that showed two soldiers. One was blue and one was red, and they were getting ready for war, but they were doing the same thing. And I think that that is really what sparked it. And so then how do we translate like a 35-second idea from Instagram into a full hour-long show? I think I would like to give a lot of credit to our executive directors. Nikhil is one of them. Seethal is one of our creative directors. I think it's a lot of like late night phone calls, a lot of staying late, a lot of prioritizing each other. And I think a really openness to ideas. I think a lot of this, we did this over the summer. It's been edited, it's been re-edited, it's been redone. And I think everyone, comes in from a place of, I think all of my fellow artists are absolutely brilliant. But in addition to that talent, just like humility and a willingness to listen and work together and take notes, which can be hard sometimes for us creative types. But really just being humble about the work, I think, is how it came together.
Wow. Working together.
Yes.
It's one of the interesting things. I mentioned earlier about the Bernstein Centennial and Leonard Bernstein as a humanitarian. One of the thoughts of Leonard Bernstein is that it seems that if we can all come together and create music from a symphony, let's say, it was proof to him that we as a world can work together to create peace. And so one of the interesting things, certainly about watching this and just hearing what you just said, it's amazing that, yes, we can work together. And interestingly enough, we prepare and dress the same way for war and for conflict and for many other things. And so there is a tremendous amount of commonality and connection between all of us. Another thing, we were just talking briefly backstage before the show, there is the creative process and the work and the cooperation that it takes. I think another thing, testament to the dedication of artists and doing this work also is where do you rehearse and where do you perform and how do you make that all happen?
All right, so we talked about this obviously earlier. Set you up nicely. Well, to be totally honest, the Suppin Institute, we've been around for 10 years, and we love working, performing for all of you in DC and the DMV area. But in those 10 years, we have practiced, performed in pretty much everywhere you can think of. Seethal's ballroom at her apartment building, someone's office,
The boardroom of a law office.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Meridian Hill Park when the weather's nice.
Outside.
So we make do because the truth is all of us, we don't have any full-time employees. All of us are work or go to school full-time. So this is really a labor of love in the greatest sense. We dedicate our time this entire week. We have had 12 a.m. bedtimes because of preparing for the show. So we get ready. We got ready at someone's apartment earlier today. So just perfect example of that.
Yeah, just wanted you to again give a shout out to these guys because it really doesn't just happen overnight. So, thank you. I would like to ask, just in this conversation, is there someone in the audience that has a thought or a comment or a question that they would like to ask the artist? Anyone want to share? Do I see somebody with their hand up? Yes. Oh, wait.
Yeah, so I actually have two questions. First of all, fantastic performance, congratulations. I know you guys all do full-time jobs at school, so that's very important. But so first question is, how was it performing this performance this week, given, first of all, the Parkland shooting, and then second also, what happened in Syria this week, where 400, 500 big people were killed, I think in Buda, but I'm not quite sure the name. So did that offer any significant depth to this performance versus performances you've done in the past? And then second of all, I think there's a significant role for art in peace building, conflict resolution, et cetera, et cetera. And clearly you guys have spent hours and hours and hours of your time, your free time, dedicating to something you believe in. So what do you believe the role of art is in a climate like today, in an environment like today, in a world where there needs to be a lot of resolution and we're not quite getting there? So yeah, whoever wants to take both of those.
So that's a really good question about the events this week. So actually the first time we performed the show was last August, and it happened to occur on the same day as the protests in Charlottesville and all of that. So it was actually something we had thought about when we were creating the show. Given what's going on in the world right now, every week there is something, right? And so we thought about it, like, do we want to reference any specific attack? Do we want to be able to tie this to any one thing? And we thought, let's try to keep it as broad as possible, because unfortunately, whenever we do our show, the most recent events are going to be in people's minds and going to be part of what helps you interpret our show, but it is about all conflicts, absolutely. Anyone want to go on the second question? Could you repeat your second question? Oh, role of art.
Yeah, like the role of art in...
Yeah. Oh, I'll start this one if you want to think. Or the role of art in, yeah. So I think it has a really important, I'm hoping that this show leaves you wanting to have a dialogue about this, wanting to talk about the fact that most people, what we want in our lives are the same regardless of where we were born, right? We want safety. We want safety and security, food, family love, all of these things, a government that we can live under without repression. We largely want the same things no matter what language we speak, what color our skin is. And so I hope it starts that dialogue. We're just one group, but many groups also do the same thing. And I hope it also helps ask the question, why are we fighting against one another, right? You see those politicians, how they switch sides at the end, they're just manipulating all the rest of us, and we just blindly follow them. And it makes you wonder, especially in, our current political situation, are there times when we blindly listen to the side that we believe in, rather than trying to objectively think about what our values are and how we actually might be more alike someone else who's different from us?
That'll do.
Excellent. Another thought or comment? Yes.
I noticed that you guys had a lot of different sorts of references from across the Western world throughout your piece. Can you talk a little bit more about the synthesis of the different forms that you incorporated into your work?
So she's not here today, but over the summer we actually had a fantastic director, Elena Velasco. And she actually pulled in a lot of these references. So our opening scene, that was kind of a reference to Shakespeare. That was her idea. And pulling in voice clips from maybe like modern conflict and a news feel, or like having Politico, that was totally her. So she's not here, but amazing work from Elena. I think also, like Seethal said, and kind of we're all understanding, it does seem like something is happening every week. And so, as we're going through the creative process, we're all thinking about those things. And so I think, first of all, just having amazing talent in the room. I mean, a lot of cooperative work, like Elena had ideas, Seethal had ideas, Nick, everyone working together to build those references, I think, to make it like really rich, because you can like notice things that connect it to between the intersection between the art world and real events, and the kind of like references to previous literature.
I'd also mention, so you may have picked up, may not have picked up on some of it, but the script not only pulled from Shakespeare, but also from speeches of real leaders today, including Obama, Trump, Bush Jr., and also a bunch of foreign leaders. My favorite was actually during the medal ceremony, the line about, it's your line, the the blood will grow into chrysanthemum, yes. That's from Bashar al-Assad, right when the Arab Spring started. So we pulled in references from a lot of different places, and we had a lot of conversation about that, right? Because are there leaders that we agree more with and that we identify more with? And I said to myself, look, here's the thing, whether we identify ourselves on one side of the spectrum or another, all leaders take us into these conflicts in one way, shape, or form. And so I wanted to put those quotes in a totally different context, where you might agree with someone, what they're saying, even though you wouldn't have agreed with what they were saying in real life, when they actually said it, so.
Yeah, I remember when Seethal was helping us with that line, with that script, and she said, oh, well, guess who said this? And she said, Assad, and we said, oh, I don't think we should put that in the show. I mean, that doesn't seem appropriate. But we decided, that is conflict, and that is how people and leaders talk about conflict, so we decided to include it.
One other comment, yes, here.
Congrats, guys. I
want to give to us?
Well, I think first and foremost, it is a chance to express ourselves. You know, a lot of us have done this in some shape or form our whole lives, and you know, being able to perform here at the Atlas Performing Arts Center in front of all of you, that's, you know, first and foremost, like, a lot of us pretty much love being up here, love being on stage. But I think to a deeper point, we were talking about it earlier, and I was thinking kind of along the lines of what Sita was saying. Why are we doing this, and why do people come? Like, what does this show mean to you? You were talking about the universality of the show, and really, like, as someone who loves the theater and goes to a lot of shows myself, I think one of the takeaways is when you leave the theater, you think to yourself, you know, you put yourself in the place of the people that you just saw the show. Even if you have, you know, you don't speak Hindi, you don't dance like this, you can't, you know, do certain things like this. It doesn't really matter. You still got an idea of how the show, you know, the storyline, and you're able to put yourself in those shoes. I think part of what we have done as well, because we've lived the show, is that we're able to put ourselves in this kind of, you know, idea of looking a little more critically about, you know, what do our leaders mean? Is it wrong of us to accept what one leader did in the past and not what a leader has done now, vice versa, those kinds of things. I just think it helps us think a bit more critically, especially since, if you all remember in the beginning, that's kind of where everyone has a line to speak about, you know, the impending conflict or the past conflict. That's kind of the moment where we are able to cement each person's character, and in that moment, we were coaching and teaching people theater-wise to, you know, really commit to that character and play that character the entire way. So that's something that a lot of us haven't done in the past, and I think it showed, hopefully, in our production that you know, people are able to internalize that.
Great. We are going to have to keep it moving along, but that does not mean that the conversation has to end. I invite you to continue to support Sapan Institute and the work that you guys are doing. It's really quite important and quite informative, and obviously tremendously artful. And thank you so much for sharing your work.
And thank you again also to the Atlas Intersections Festival. We're very, very excited about it. Thank you, all of you, for staying and for coming out.
Thank you.